Konnichiwa minasan, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Reina Scully coming to you from Japan. 大変遅れましたが、明けましておめでとうございます。今年もよろしくお願いします。Happy very, very belated New Year. As always, there is a lot to catch up on. There's actually too much going on, and it thematically doesn't make any sense to shove it all into one video. So today's video is going to be some snippets from when we went to the US and how I broke my face during that time. Literally broke my face. Right now to see if we can secure the bassinet, because I think there's only like 2 allowed per flight and it's on a first come first serve basis. You make a note of it when you first book your flight, but then you have to like run to your gate and make sure it's secured. So we're gonna do that right now. Irie just fell asleep for her nap, and it's, as you can see, it's already dark out. It's like 5 p.m. It's very late for her nap time, so I don't know if this is gonna work out. I'm afraid this is gonna bleed into her like actual sleep time, and then she's gonna wake up in the middle of the night on the flight. So we'll see. Looked at me like, yeah. Who are you? To my surprise, the flight went so smoothly. We are so incredibly lucky that we have a very easy baby when it comes to traveling. We're also super lucky that we didn't have any seat neighbors. And I do have some tips and tricks that we personally used, but every baby is so very different, and I don't want to come off as some kind of baby traveling expert, because we absolutely are not. Again, it is all about luck and circumstance and their like sleep schedule perfectly aligning at the right times. But if you'd like to know exactly what we did to prep and what we did during our flight, I am going to go into details towards the second half of this video. So yeah, back to the story. We landed safely in Newark. We reunited with Mike's family, which was a tearjerker. Irie actually got to play with Penny during this trip, which was so cute.
Irie, you pet the puppy. Pet the puppy.
Oh, Penny, good girl.
Penny, come here. Pet the puppy.
We really hit the ground running and went to Nana and Papa's house. We took Irie for a lovely walk in the park. She got to ride on a swing for the first time ever in her life. It was magical. Then the following day, we drove straight to Massachusetts, where Thanksgiving was going to be held, and we were prepping the whole house and everything was going so well. And this happened 2 days before Thanksgiving. All right, so how did this happen? Why did this happen? So I was incredibly jet lagged and we were so busy from the moment we landed. And when I'm jet lagged, I don't have much of an appetite, so I wasn't eating well. And I have a history of low blood pressure and low blood sugar. I actually used to faint all the time as a teenager, but I've been so good at managing my fainting spells for over a decade and a half. I've only fainted like a handful of times after becoming an adult, and I normally, before it happens, I normally feel it coming, so I know to sit down immediately or even just like lie down flat on the floor. And yeah, I've avoided blacking out for the longest time ever. That was not the case this time. I must have been too far gone. I have no recollection of fainting or falling whatsoever. One moment I'm heading into the bedroom and the next moment I'm face up on the floor and Mike is like cradling my face. The first thing I noticed was that I was completely and totally numb on the right side of my face. So like everything here was completely numb. I couldn't feel it whatsoever. I couldn't feel my face moving. I couldn't like feel if I was smiling or not. I couldn't feel if I was blinking. Then I looked in a mirror and saw this, and I took this photo immediately after so that if I needed to go to urgent care or something, I could show them. But yeah, it was honestly pretty freaking scary because I had a headache, but I also was numb in my face and my brain couldn't make sense of that, and I just blacked out, so I also wasn't well to begin with. I couldn't feel my gums and I couldn't feel my lips, half my nose, and my eye would just suddenly like close on its own. Like I would just like start winking on its own and I wouldn't feel it, which is super weird for me because I don't know how to wink. Like I can't wink. So this all happened pretty late at night and I actually fell asleep, and we went to urgent care the next morning, mainly to get checked for concussions. Thankfully, I did not have one, and because I could speak clearly and voluntarily move the muscles in my face, the doctor said that he wasn't going to order an x-ray because A, it would be a waste of money, because even if something were to be fractured, all he was going to tell me was to just rest and let it heal on its own, so it'd be kind of senseless to be wasting money on an x-ray when you know that you're okay. And also, if I had really broken my orbital floor, my eye would have sunken in and it would have been very, very obvious that something was broken. So he was like quite sure that I was fine and that I just really, really hit a nerve, and mainly that I was stupendously lucky that I didn't hit my eye directly, which was like the doctor's main concern after the concussion concern. So this happened pretty late at night and I actually fell asleep. So we went to urgent care the next morning, mainly to get checked for concussions, and thankfully I did not have one. And because I was able to speak clearly and voluntarily move the muscles on my face, although I can't feel it, I could still move it, the doctor said that I was really, really lucky that I just didn't hit my eye directly, because that would have been just horrific, and that if I had really fractured my orbital floor badly, my eye would have sunken in and it would have been really, really obvious, and that's clearly not what happened. So since my face seemed intact, it would have been senseless to order an x-ray, because even if there were some kind of hairline fracture somewhere, the only thing to do would be to wait until it healed on its own. And so yeah, the x-ray would have been like a huge waste of money. I was offered pain medication, but I declined because I was completely numb and I didn't feel anything, so it just kind of didn't matter. And so we just went home and I continued prepping and cooking for Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving was awesome, by the way, even though Irie got sick for the first time ever in her whole life and then got everybody else sick. Now, fast forward to coming back to Japan in late December, I was still totally numb, except I started feeling this like strange sensation on my teeth, not even my gums, my teeth. Like every time I bit down, it felt really strange. It still feels really, really funky. And I also started feeling this phantom pain right here at the bottom of my eye. Like it would be this like really sharp pinching sensation, and it actually feels a lot like if you were to violently rip out your bottom lashes. Yeah, I would randomly feel that throughout the day, multiple times in a day, and it would also cause my eye to twitch pretty badly, so that started freaking me out a little bit. Then a couple weeks passed and I started getting this fuzzy, prickly sensation that would just happen all over my face, and again randomly throughout the day, which is actually a good sign. It means the nerves are healing, but it honestly feels awful. It feels like a spiky piece of hair is stuck to your face, but you can't tell exactly where it is, and where you're touching isn't where it is, and you just can't get to it, and it like kind of drives me crazy. My proprioception is very obviously off. My trigeminal nerve is firing at the wrong places at the wrong times, overfiring actually, because that's what happens when it heals. And to this day, 2 months later, I'm still not healed, and the nerves are firing off at the wrong places. For example, if I touch my cheek right here and I drag my finger down like this, I don't feel it here, I feel it right here, and I feel it pulling in this direction. How crazy is that? So a couple weeks ago, I decided to go to Neurologist. Even though I knew there was nothing that they could do for me, I just wanted confirmation that it was indeed healing, albeit very slowly. And I also wanted them to confirm that I didn't have any blood pooling or any kind of brain trauma, because I did start getting funny headaches. I normally get migraines. I'm very used to them. They're the worst things in the world. These headaches felt super strange. They weren't necessarily localized, and it felt very like it felt like a soft headache, which is like the strangest way to describe a headache, but it felt like a very like fluffy, soft headache, and I did not like that. Even though it didn't hurt that bad, it was nowhere near the pain of a migraine, but it just, it's like a new pain, and I didn't like it. The doctor ordered a CT to check for facial trauma and brain trauma, and to make sure that there was no blood pooling in my brain anywhere. Thankfully, there was no brain trauma whatsoever. However, I did indeed completely fracture my orbital floor in 2 locations, apparently right here and right here. Like, it's broken right now. But it's apparently already healing on its own, and the doctor could not stress enough how lucky I was that my eye wasn't affected by this. The only thing I was prescribed was vitamin B12, which is supposed to help heal nerve damage, and I was also told to be careful not to chew with the right side of my mouth, because I don't have the nerves firing in the right places, and I might like chew too hard, and it might affect how my orbital floor is healing. I'm so grateful that this is all it is and that it is healing on its own, but I am so mad at myself for not taking better care of myself. Like, it's so easy to just eat a piece of fruit or a cracker or something, even when you're not hungry, to keep your blood sugar stable, but I was like, no, I'm gonna run on fumes. Like, no, you can't. You're over 30, you're a mom, you cannot afford to get injured when you could have prevented it. Speaking of preventing stuff, if you're looking for a simple and convenient way to access birth control, look no further than PillCare. I've partnered with PillCare in an affiliate program in an effort to spread their wonderful service to as many women as possible. PillCare is a telemedicine platform where you can easily request your prescription by filling out a quick questionnaire. You'll receive a no-cost medical consultation, and you could chat with a qualified physician at any time if you have any questions at all. Use the link in my description and put in my code Scully10 to get up to 15% off your birth control. And now, here is everything we did with Irie during our 13+ hour long haul international flight. Just an FYI, this is the second time we brought Irie to the States and back, so now she has been on 4 flights total. The first time she flew, she was only 4.5 months old, and I actually highly recommend traveling during that age if you can or if you have to, because it was so much easier. They only drink milk at the time, so you don't have to worry about solids. They're small enough so they fit really comfortably in the bassinet that the plane provides for you. And because they're still so young and little, they tire really easily, so they take multiple naps, and they don't develop stranger anxiety yet. So yeah, it was just so much easier the first time. We definitely did not need to entertain her nearly as much during that first trip. So yeah, if you are thinking of traveling with your baby, I highly recommend doing it during that age, like between 4 months and 6 months. So we always fly United, and your baby gets to fly for free until the age of 2, but you have to consider them infant on lap, which means they do not get their own seat. But the best thing about infant on lap is you can request a free baby bassinet that clips into the front wall of your seat. Now, the only seats that allows this to happen are in rows 30 and 41 on a Boeing 777-200, which is always what we fly with. They are extra legroom seats though, so you are forced into paying extra for those seats if you request a bassinet. The bassinet only holds up to 22 pounds and it's only 29 inches long, so it's pretty small. Just for reference, Irie was 16 pounds during this last trip and she fit in it comfortably, but I think this is the absolute last time she's going to be fitting in the bassinet. We booked a 6 p.m. flight out of Haneda, and in theory that is supposed to work out perfectly because Irie's bedtime is usually between 7:30 and 8 p.m. Nowadays she only naps once a day, so that was the one dicey thing. We couldn't get her to nap as we were going to Tokyo because we were like hustling between 2 different trains and we're like getting in and out of cars and stuff. So yeah, that was not gonna work out. But what happened was in Haneda, she was like wide awake, so we had her expend even more of her energy, and she actually fell asleep for a nap, I think between like 4 and 5 p.m., which was like a little bit scary because I thought that was gonna like ruin her whole bedtime night schedule. It actually didn't. I don't know how, but it didn't. She must have been that tired. But yeah, the key was that we played with her a lot at Haneda, and then we fed her a mess load of solids before getting on the plane. And I know what you're thinking, that's probably a bad idea because like what if she shits her brains out? She's going to shit her brains out anyway because it is a 13+ hour flight. At some point or another, you're gonna have to take care of the doo-doo diaper. So you're just gonna have to like be okay with it, just handle it. Feeding her a lot and having her sleep deeply is, I think, more important than like worrying about like, oh, what if she poops? Because she's gonna poop. Anyway, we got on the flight, and you get to board first when you have a young baby, which is like such a huge perk. And because we boarded early, we had a lot of time to ourselves before everyone else came on. So Irie got to kind of explore and familiarize herself with our seats in the area. And again, we didn't have a seat neighbor, so we were able to kind of walk her around the seats, and she like crawled around a little bit on the seats, and it was just awesome. And next, this is kind of a key thing, we fed her a warm bottle as the flight was taking off to prevent her ears from popping. So I can't really speak from experience because we've been so lucky. Irie's ears have never popped during any flights, but supposedly when that happens to a young baby, it is absolute mayhem and torture for them. It hurts them and it scares them, and they can't fix it because they can't do the diver's trick or anything like that. So you just want to do everything you can to prevent that from happening. During this flight, we actually missed our timing a little bit. We started feeding her as we were rolling around on the tarmac, and then she was like done with her bottle as we were facing up, which was like so stupid. We did not time that very well. But she had a pacifier in her mouth, so I think that's what stopped the popping from happening. But yeah, I would be very careful about that. Be very meticulous about the timing. Again, do not start the milk on the tarmac. Start it like as you're already like lifting off, or else they might finish the bottle too early. Then after the flight reaches altitude, a flight attendant is gonna come by and setchisuru? Oh my god, I forgot English. What the hell is the word? They're going to attach. I guess the word's attach. It's not though. They're going to engineer it. No, anyway. I forgot how to speak English and Japanese at the same time. Anyway, it's after the seatbelt lights go off, but a flight attendant is gonna come by and attach the bassinet to the front wall of your seat. They like screw it in and they make sure that it's like really, really safe. By the way, we had incredible flight attendants on both flights. Like they all really loved babies, and they would come by and like play with Irie a little bit, and it was just so sweet, and oh, like thank you so much. So almost immediately after that, we got served our in-flight dinner, and then after dinner, they dimmed the lights, so the timing could not have been more perfect. That was exactly when Irie's eyes were like fluttering shut. So we just rocked her a little bit and we just slipped her into the bassinet, and she slept for like 5 or 6 hours straight. So she woke up about halfway through the flight, and what we did was we tried to just entertain her as much as possible. And because we didn't have a seat neighbor, we were able to kind of prop her up in the seat between us, and I had her play with her busy book, which she really loved, and that made me so happy. She also played a lot with her pulley toy that she normally actually doesn't like very much, so that was really interesting. But her #1 favorite toy was definitely the fake remote control that like lights up a little bit and beeps sleeps really quietly. She was like obsessed with that, and it wasn't loud at all, so it didn't bother anyone else on the plane. It was like actually the perfect toy. I cannot stress this enough, how amazing that was that we had that. We also loaded up like 4 episodes of Miss Rachel on our iPad, and we let her watch it like at random times throughout the flight. She doesn't normally get like a lot of screen time, so I think this was just a huge treat for her. We had the volume basically on mute, but she was still really engaged in watching it. I don't think she heard any of it, obviously, especially with all the noise going on in a plane, but yeah, she was still like very engrossed in it, so that worked out great. Speaking of audio, I actually let her play with my headphones for the first time ever in her life, and she like kind of figured it out, and it was just so endearing to watch. We also took turns walking her up and down the aisles just so she has a different view once in a while, and we also took turns rocking her, and I actually think the white noise on the plane kind of acted like a sound machine because it did lull her to sleep into her next nap, which worked out really nicely again. She slept for like 2 more hours, and then we did everything all over again. Needless to say, neither Mike nor I slept at all during either of these flights, and it's really grueling, but that's just how it goes. Even when Irie goes down for the chunky 5 or 6 hours sleep, you can't really let yourself nap because A, you have to keep checking on her to make sure she's still breathing, but also you don't know when she's gonna suddenly wake up from that sleep. And I found for my baby that if I'm there for her as she's waking up, she's much less likely to have an absolute meltdown. Whereas if I'm like a little bit late coming to like greet her as she wakes up and she's already like about to freak out, it's really hard to calm her down once she hits that point. So yeah, you kind of want to prevent that from happening, which is why you can't sleep even though your baby is asleep. Again, this is just how we do it. This is what works for us. I'd rather be exhausted and tired than have Irie have a meltdown that I can't calm her down from inside of a tin can in the sky. So that's pretty much the gist. Oh, I forgot about the diaper situation. Okay, one more thing about diapers and changing babies on planes. It is basically just this like plastic board that you have to change your baby on, and there's not a lot of space at all. So if your baby is a little bit on the bigger side, like Irie was on this trip, it's a little bit tough. I definitely recommend bringing your own like little plastic trash bags, like little plastic bags that behave as trash bags, so that when you throw it out, it's not like offensively stinky for the rest of the flight for everybody else. And one final thing about changing your baby on the plane, I highly recommend getting this thing. It was so useful. It's basically like, okay, so it has Velcro on this side and this side, and it attaches like this, and it's basically like an Elizabeth collar for your baby, and you put it on their chest, like it goes around their chest, like right here, and this is where their head goes, right? And their arms are like around here. It props their head up a little bit so it protects their head from the hard plastic of the changing table, and it stops their arms from like being able to like reach around, and it actually kind of like stops them from really moving at all. So yeah, this I highly recommend. It does make them look like a Dilophosaurus, but that's also just a bonus. But yeah, this thing, it was great. I don't even know what it's called. Like, what would you call this? I can't even like demonstrate it on me because like I'm not a baby, so it doesn't like look right on me. It doesn't go around my, but why am I trying to demonstrate for you? Anyway, yeah, I recommend that thing. It was great. All right, so I'm really done now, but if you have any really specific logistical questions about flying with your baby on a long haul flight or on an international flight, let me know in the comments below. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. But again, I am not like a baby traveling expert in any way. This is just stuff that works for us. And that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. My next video that's scheduled is a very exciting one. I involve my family in it as well, and we all get to find out together whether I'm really Japanese or not. So I hope you'll check that out when it goes up, but until then, stay warm, stay safe, don't fall down, and I will see you in my next video. そんじゃまたね!